Howdy folks, Josh King here. Welcome to Podcast Talks, where we look to an old book to help us live as new men. Podcast Talks is a ministry both of and for Meridian Church. If that ain't you, stick around, be our guest. Today's reading comes from the pen of the Puritan minister Thomas Brooks. Thomas Brooks wrote much, and he wrote very well, but very little is written of him. And so while his person fades, his writings endure. And today I'll be reading from what is likely his most well-known work, most enduring work, the first one that you come to in the 6 volumes of his collected works published by the Banner, Precious Remedies Against Satan's Devices. Now, if you visit most any Christian bookstore today, you will find a sea of books on spiritual warfare, but it is a sea of lies for you to drown in. And in that sea of books on spiritual warfare, if they happen to have Thomas Brooks, he is like an island in that sea of lies. He's something solid for you to stand on. He doesn't instruct you how to be flashy with your sword, but how to truly arm yourself with the armor of God. The portion that I want to read from, though, in Precious Remedies, comes from his Word to the Reader, and it doesn't deal with spiritual warfare. It deals with reading. So it gets at spiritual warfare indirectly, but it's not concerning Satan's devices, but how one should read his book. I'll be reading from the Collected Works, Volume 1, page 8. Remember, it is not hasty reading, but serious meditating upon holy and heavenly truths that makes them prove sweet and profitable to the soul. It is not the bee's touching of the flower that gathers honey, but her abiding for a time upon the flower that draws out the sweet. It is not he that reads most, but he that meditates most that will prove the choicest, sweetest, wisest, and strongest Christian. Brooks would rather you read a few books well than read many books poorly. For one who wrote so much, this seems odd. This is because Brooks' concern isn't his wealth, but his reader's health. Many books today aren't worth the kind of reading Brooks advocates because they aren't written with the same motives. Even so, this is not an excuse to not eat, only to eat discerningly, to shop well for your food. The well-fed Christian isn't the one who eats a lot, but who chews well. He must eat like a sheep and not like a pig. We must chew the cud and not slurp the slop. Or as John Piper warns us, we must resist the deceptive urge to carve notches in our bibliographic gun. When it comes to the Bible, there's a place for Bible reading, simply reading the Bible to read through the Bible, perhaps very quickly in some instances. But there must also be Bible study, meditation, memorization, repetition, reading the same text again and again. There's a time to read through books as quickly as one can, to some degree. Some books must be read, and even so, a quick read is the only kind of reading they're worthy of. But the healthiest souls read the best books, and they read them well. They read them repeatedly. They read them with a pen in their hand. They read them with thoughts in their minds. They find that whenever they put the book down, the book is still with them. They read it, discovering implications for their lives. The best kind of reading leaves us not simply in the know, not simply having been entertained. It leaves us changed. Books are like a long journey where we come out on the other side different than we went in. The best of books will find us very different. And for this, shortcuts will not suffice, not even for the best books. You won't have that kind of change unless you go through the long journey. So whenever you look at that big pile of books on your shelf, don't rush through one to get to the other. A big pile might be a reason to read more, but it's no excuse to speed read. It's a bad trade to poorly read one good book so that you might poorly read another good book. Instead, whenever you look at that stack, rejoice. Know that your cupboard is well stocked, and there's good eating for some time yet. Meridian Church, I love you. Grace and peace.